It's now 4 o'clock in the afternoon and Caitlin's been in labour on and off for the last 5 hours. We've just finished a period where there was a couple of hours of not really much activity. But she's just getting to the point now where she's having some pretty regular and strong contractions.
Caitlin is entering the advanced stages of labour.
Good girl, well done.
Copy.
Sorry. Copy, so when she has a contraction, it's starting to emerge.
Good stuff. Don't touch it.
This is the amniotic sac, which means there's a cub on the way.
Copy, the sac just burst around it. And now we can see her face.
There we go, mate.
Lick it. Come on.
The sensation of Caitlin's licking should trigger the cub's lungs to start working.
Giles, is she licking it? Yeah, she is now. Yeah, go.
It's gasped 3 times, but it's not breathing properly yet.
Copy, Giles. Her licking it will stimulate it to breathe.
Yeah.
Is that
I still feel like we should get in there and give her a hand.
Copy, Giles. Please.
She's looking at space.
Yeah, it needs to clear whatever liquid is in the air, in the mouth.
So that is just leave her be for the moment.
It's been 2 minutes, and although the cub's made some weak attempts, it still hasn't started breathing properly.
Yeah,
Big gasps.
It's gasping, but it's not breathing. Okay, it's breathing. Well, there's 2, 3 breaths, 4. Good girl. You did so well.
She did very well. There we go.
See, she knows what to do. This is awesome.
So the cub just made its first ever noise, a little squeal out to Mum. Mum looked surprised, if anything.
It's a beautiful 10-minute-old cub.
That's incredible, isn't it? Man, my heart was in my mouth. It's a good girl. For a first time mum, she's doing an amazing job, and it's really hard just to sit back here and let her get on with it. Now she's starting to have contractions in preparation for the second one to arrive.
There's a sac coming out, you can see on this one.
Well done, good girl.
Number 2.
Doing so well. Good girl, well done.
Go.
Good girl, well done. Oh, this one's coming out kicking and screaming. Good girl.
It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It's 2 males, and Caitlin's allowing Giles to share in the moment.
One's up and about, madam. You're so good. You're so amazing. Good girl.
The next morning, and the cubs are doing well.
Here we go. 2 little boys.
They're a healthy 1.2 kilograms each. And as the days roll by, the cubs continue to thrive under Giles's watchful eye.
So we try and spend a little bit of time with them every day. It's really important because ultimately from day one we've been building our bond with them. And the fact that they just get used to, you know, hearing my voice and the sensation of being touched and picked up and stuff is really good. His eyes are still completely closed, so this is day 8, but...
Yeah, it's usually between 6 and 12.
Yeah. You're gonna stay still for just a second. Wow.
Gee, they're growing.
They're growing, that's 200 grams again in a day. Wow. It's fantastic. So they're only 12 days old and they're all already double their birth weight. The stronger and bigger you get, the quicker you get, the better your chance of survival in the wild. Just noticed that one little eye was open, which is awesome. You can see me now, sort of. Well, you can see a shadow anyway. For the first couple of weeks, they're not going to be able to focus properly. It's still going to take, like a human baby, like it takes a few weeks for the eyes to adjust.
2 weeks later, the cubs are growing stronger, and it's time for Giles to give them names.
So if you look at the two of them together, this little chap has more of a continuous stripe going along this way, whereas this one's a bit more broken, looks like a spot. So we're calling this one Spot for the time being, and this one Stripe. And he tends to have a little bit more of a feisty character than his brother. He is going to be a challenge, I can see it already. See what I mean about being stripy? Aren't you? Yeah. But that's good, you've got spirit. So this is one we're calling Spot. This little chap was the first one born, and he was the one that for the first couple of hours we were a little worried about. He had a bit of a tougher time, didn't you? You're doing well, he's nearly the same weight as his brother now.
Despite their good health, life for young tigers is precarious. Globally, over a third of captive-born Sumatran cubs won't make it to adulthood.
So you need to relax like your brother. Relax, hey?
So Giles has made a difficult decision to safeguard the cubs' future.
Big wide world. Oh, you're going to pass with flying colours, buddy.
Yeah.
He's going to hand-raise them himself at home, so he can give them 24-hour care. And Mel the vet has come to check if they're healthy enough to leave.
Well, the heart sounds really good. Steady beat, no murmurs. And
How relaxed
nice
he
and
is.
strong. He's so relaxed. We're starting off with such robust, healthy little cubs. They're not too young, so we've already got so much strength in them.
The cubs will be vulnerable to illness until they're around 6 weeks old. So Giles has got to keep a close eye on them round the clock.
There is an awful lot of pressure, you know, there's first and foremost, you know, there's pressure because these guys are so important to not only us here at the zoo, but also to the breeding program, potentially a lot of eyes around the world that are, you know, watching what we're doing and making sure we do a good job. We'll give it a good go, hey? We're giving it a good go. You're so fluffy.
Hand-raising the cubs will also help prepare them for their future lives at the zoo. As the cubs have become bolder at home, Giles thinks it's time for Spot and Stripe to increase their socialization with the adult tigers back at the zoo. At the main tiger compound, Giles and his team are full-time carers for 10 adult tigers, and Spot and Stripe have been gradually exposed to them.
Ah, good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
Seeing the adult tigers through the glass is one thing, but their next big milestone is to socialize and meet one of the adults in the open air.
There's going to be lots and lots of interesting smells in here with all the other tigers, you know, like the big guys come through here on a regular basis, and it's much, much more of a sensory stimulation for them in here in terms of the smell than just being around the front of the glass. Like the big tigers never go around that side, so. Get used to walking around here, boys.
In just over a month, the cubs will be too big to live at home. And they need to be accepted by the adults for them to live here full time.
He's a little bit nervous, as you would expect. You can see he's smelling all the smells around. There's lots of smells of big predators, other tigers around, so they're going to be a little bit cautious naturally.
In the wild, an unrelated tiger could easily injure the cubs.
How is she?
She's waiting. There you go.
And Giles hopes Maneki won't display any threatening behaviors.
Oh, who is it?
So this is Maneki. Well, this is the very, very first time that Maneki's seen any cubs whatsoever.
Tigers communicate using a range of vocalizations. And the most common non-threatening sound they make is called a chuff.
Chuffing is reassuring. So they're chuffing at her, they're chuffing at each other. So it's a reassuring type of noise, but it's also a way of greeting, so that she speaks your language, not like Ruby.
Tigers are one of the few cats in the world to communicate in this way.
These guys are very inquisitive, so their facial expression with their ears is exactly that. Now he's being a bit submissive for the fact that he's putting his ears slightly back, he's getting down low. So that's just being a little bit unsure, if you like. Whereas Maneki, you can see how relaxed she is. She's sat there, she's fairly happy. So Stripe is getting a little bit close. He's being cautious in the way in which he approaches. Good boy. You're brave. Yeah. Look at his face. He's very, very cautious. Like, he wants to go up a bit closer, but he's also a little nervous. But that's to be expected. Like, look at the size of her in comparison to him. So, and she's reacting a little. She doesn't want to be surprised.
The cubs have won over Maneki, and Giles is relieved.
For a very first encounter, you couldn't have asked for it to go any better or any smoother. You know, no one's being aggressive, no one's showing over-interest or too much interest. So, and the cubs are coping really well.
Our story begins with a tantalising glimpse of something very special. A cub, just 10 days old. Wild cubs as young as this have never been filmed before. For their first 6 weeks, most cubs usually hide away in their dens, hardly glimpsing daylight. These are unusually adventurous. They seem totally unaware of the dangers. Although their eyes are just opening, they won't see clearly for another 6 weeks. They're the mother's first litter, and they're going to be quite a test for her. The tigress must pick them up by the scruff of the neck. It's a delicate operation. A little too much pressure and she'll hurt her cub. She can bite with a force of nearly 500 kilos, but this requires the gentlest touch. Tigers usually have 2 or 3 cubs. 4 are quite a handful, and these already seem more challenging than most. The ratio between the sexes among newborns is usually equal. True to form, 2 of these cubs are male and 2 are female. It will be rare indeed for all 4 of them to reach maturity. Many dangers lie ahead. At this size, they make a snack for even the smallest predator. Their mother must make sure that everyone is accounted for. With 2 back in the den and 1 on its way, there's only 1 straggler left to worry about. The cub's contact cry makes sure he's not forgotten. As long as the cubs call, their mother is compelled to keep retrieving them, but this would try any mother's patience. A young cub's life is very precarious. Had the mother been away hunting at a moment like this, the outcome could have been very different. She's clearly going to be a devoted mother, but she still has a lot to learn. This is not the way to do it. Filming such behaviour is unprecedented. It gives us an extraordinary opportunity to follow these cubs as they grow.
Now that we're integrating them into the compound, one of the most important aspects is obviously being on display here where the public can see them. And part of that is just getting them introduced and used to the big pool that we have. We're going to see if we can take them for one of their very first proper swims.
It's going to be a brand new experience for Spot and Stripe, and it could be overwhelming.
You never quite know as to how they're going to go for their first time. Good boy.
Straight away, Giles can see a difference in how the cubs react to being near the water.
Spot is actually much more confident in the water than his brother Stripe. And Stripe isn't so confident sometimes. I just think it's a personality thing. Tigers are the one exception in the big cat family, along with jaguars, that, you know, really do enjoy the water. Tigers are incredibly powerful swimmers. They have these huge paws that actually, when they spread their toes about, there's webbing, if you like, in between their toes. So effectively what you've got is you've got this big powerhouse of a unit, and on the end of their legs they've got these paddles. In some of the habitat you'll find them, they can island hop from place to place or swim across big rivers, and so water's not a problem for them.
Yeah!
Stripe's still too nervous to take the plunge. He needs some gentle encouragement from Giles.
That was incredible, wasn't it? Just how confident were they? Even jumping in the water. Like, they're just natural, aren't they? Oh, these guys are going to be water babies for sure. Don't jump into the water if you're being chased by a tiger, or climb a tree. All you got to do is just run faster than the slowest person in your group, and you'll be okay.
In fact, the cubs have already started to develop a behavior that you really wouldn't want to face in the wild. Or in the garden, if you're the family dog. They're honing their stalking skills.
He's going in for the kill.
Caesar will bite you. He's got a bone. So no. As young cubs like this, they instinctively stalk each other, and they stalk mum because it's all good training for, obviously, ultimately when they're going to need it. They go out on their own in the wild and start making their own kills.